Say hi to spring's most amazing style steal at Old Navy. One day only, today. Women's tanks are just $2. And don't forget to come in now to redeem your super cash. Hurry in. High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 4/29, limit 5 per customer. Select styles in stores only.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. How you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topic, sorta like some rebels when it's game time. They like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4 for 26 saw the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.
Yes, sir. What up, War Room family? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on that War Room Sports Podcast Network. I'm the homie Dev McMillan. I'm at the round table with JW the Blueprint and that dude B. Austin. The NFL draft commences immediately after our broadcast. So Fred Perdue going to join us later in the second hour for a top 10 mock NFL draft. The NBA playoffs are smoking. We got plenty of other ish talk for you guys as well. So keep it locked right here for the next 2 hours. And if you want to holler at us throughout the show, join us right now in that JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or you can join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly probably in about 10, 15 minutes when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, just a few network shout-outs throughout the week. Be sure to check out the War Room Sports Podcast Network. Besides our own podcast, The War Room, you can listen to shows such as The Broad Street Line and The Broad Street Line Express with Roy and Chris, The Tissue and the Tape Hip-Hop Show with Philmatic and Savage, John Appetit, If You Like to Eat, with The Burtons, No Look Past podcast with Frank and Andy. That's all about the NBA, so if you're into these playoffs, that's the one you want to listen to. Bump and Run for all you NASCAR fans with Robin Vandenberg. I heard Dell Jr. is calling it quits after this season, so shout out to him. On the Couch with the Wilsons for you TV and movie heads and a whole lot more. Just visit warroomsports.com, click on the WRS Podcast Network tab, or go to our free mobile app and click the network tab there. Fellas, y'all ready for this draft? Jimmy, I know you've been taking in a lot of the festivities in the city of brotherly love, man. What's going on up there? Is the city buzzing right now?
You know, it is what it is. You got fans from all across the world who are in the city.
So a lot of rumbles then.
Yeah, you know, a lot of rumbles, a lot of traffic. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to stay out the way. You know what I mean? I hate the little festivities, not necessarily where the draft goes on, but, you know, I'm in the mix or whatever. It's an amazing time for all these young men, man. I can't imagine. I say this every year when we do our show on draft night. But could you imagine the feeling of knowing that your life is going to change in a matter of hours?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's got to be the most amazing feeling in the world.
I don't know.
It's not exactly.
I don't know
like,
what.
You know.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't know what I would do if I was about to be drafted, but I've been in a situation just recently where my life changed in the blink of an eye. But that's neither here nor there.
It wasn't the same kind of anxiety though. But look, it's not exactly. It's not exactly, you know, you waiting when you know tomorrow morning you're gonna ring that bell at the stock exchange and you're gonna become a billionaire. But I'm pretty sure it's a great feeling for a lot of people who weren't sure if they were gonna have anything. I'm watching draft coverage now. And they got my man Carl Weathers coming out of the art museum, walking down the red carpet, slapping hands with the fans and stuff. Like, I have no idea what's going on because I don't have the sound up, but I'm assuming that's Rocky related because I'm sure they're playing that angle.
No, but you know what though? Getting back to what I was saying, it's not even just not just the money, right? Like, these guys probably been playing football since they were kids. You dig what I'm saying? So just that thought of being able to take it to the highest level.
It's absolutely what you're saying, Jimmy. Like, it's not even if I'm putting myself in that position and I would have to change sports, like football, God bless you, you're great. But, like, basketball, if somebody told me they were going to pay me, even minimum NBA wage to play basketball. Like, I play basketball for 7 hours a day for free if my body could stand it. So you gonna tell me you're gonna pay me six figures? Oh my God!
Right, and it's basically like
The love of the game.
when you go to sleep the night before, like I'm good. Well, most of them know. I'm gonna have reached the pinnacle of my career. This is what I've been waiting for all my life, like Jimmy was saying. So, yeah, it has to be a pretty good feeling. And then, in the next month or so, all this is going to wind down and your ass got to go out there and hit with grown men. So, it might change your feelings up a little bit, but draft night has to be special. Has to be. Crazy.
Definitely.
So, Jimmy, I saw, you representing War Room Sports at some events. I saw you busting it up with B. Austin's favorite football player of all time. Shout out to Super 5, D-Mac, Donovan McNabb, whatever, the delusion will call him.
Hopefully we have a chance to talk. Hopefully we have a chance to talk about this later on in the show. I hope so.
Listen, man, this what made this experience, and salute to my brothers from the Broad Street Line because they were with me in the mix, also on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. The Starting Five. There's a lot of different like sports blogs and podcasts in this event. But what made this unique, as soon as he walked in, everybody stared at me and said, "Is D. Austin here?" It made it so hilarious, and then everybody's egging me on like, "Yo, you got to get a picture to troll B. Austin." I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it already crossed my mind too. But the fact that B. Austin has an association with this man, to me, is the greatest thing ever since we've been doing this show. And the funny thing is, as soon as I posted it, the first comment was like somebody said was, "Damn, when we met you guys in Toronto, within 5 minutes, the first thing we knew was B. Austin hated McNabb." So it's utterly amazing, man. So salute to you, B. Austin, because you definitely formed a reputation on these internets and all across the world. These are people from different parts of the world saying this about B. Austin. This is what makes it amazing.
God actually looked out, and he put us in a position where we could be well represented without me having to live up to everything that I've said through the years, because based on me being a man of my word, who knows where I would have been spending quite a bit of time had I been at that event, because there's no way I'd have held my tongue.
And the funny thing is, like, somebody said, well, if B. Austin was here, you guys at least may have made Deadspin. Because the tables might have got moving.
World Star, TMZ, something. We'd have been on something. All right. As long as, when they cuffed you and it was throwing you out of the event, as long as you shouted out the website, we'd have been good with it.
Quiet is kept. I have a feeling one of my co-hosts would have joined me. I'm not going to say which one of y'all.
They know who it was. That's why I don't ever want to run into dude when you're there, because you're going to start something that I'm going to have to help you. And,
Listen, man. First of all,
funny thing, if you see Jimmy's mug in the photo, because Jimmy got the mean mug in the photo while Ball cheating. He don't know that he's taking it. He's really being played taking this photo.
That's trollduggery. It's all about trollduggery, man.
Jimmy got wait, hold on. Jimmy got the F my life face on. F my life.
That's all part of the trollduggery, man. That was complete trollduggery.
He got the F his dude face.
I was like, listen, man, I gotta serve B. Austin these troll house cookies, man. So it had to be done, man. But
no doubt.
I just want to send a shout to Don Povia and the whole crew at Blogs with Balls and everything they do, man, because they always invite us out to these amazing events. And whether it's one of us or two of us or all three of us, we always support. So another year we support. Regardless of where they're at next year.
Put us on the map back in 2012. Never forget
Where's the draft at next year? I
don't know.
They wherever the draft is. I mean, that's how.
Oh yeah. Because because I was at their draft party last year in
Chicago.
Right? Yeah.
So this year in Philly, I was in the building. So who knows what it is?
I take home for granted because I'm like, why am I not up there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Why am I not up at the draft? It's a 2-hour drive away.
Listen, man, we always want somebody in the building.
Blame my kids.
Wherever it is next year, man, one or all of us will be there. I had no idea what the draft is next year. But one or all of us will be there. You know what I'm saying?
We'll find out in the next few minutes if they've announced it yet. You know, because it's usually a long-standing New York thing. They did 2 years in Chicago, now in Philly. They might like the reception they get by taking it around, so I'm pretty sure they're going to keep it moving.
Yo, the NFL, man, in terms of a business, they find a way to take the same stuff and just keep getting paid and paid and paid. So they probably going to put it up for grabs, like, but you got to give like a certain sort of like a deposit, like you're trying to rent, like, you know what I mean, rent a club out or something.
Right. I was in the city on Saturday and, you know, rode past everything, saw the preparation down on the Parkway, the giant theater that they were building down there by the art museum and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I knew it was going to be lit, and I'm watching the footage now. It's a beautiful day, so they lucked out. You know what I mean, with the weather being what they do this a few days earlier, it's rain everywhere. So shout out to the NFL being so rich that, you know, they
can change weather patterns.
How you pay off money?
The NFL got so much bread,
all that money we saved on CTE research, we put in the weather patterns.
Oh, Mother Nature, a prostitute. Anyway, let's get into this, man. Talk about what happened this week while everybody was on the line. You know, it's draft time, so y'all know we're gonna be back on some draft talk a little bit later on. But right now, while y'all want to grind, of course, it's brought to you by DirecTV. If you like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including that NFL Sunday ticket, and some of you might feel that you're going to need it more than ever after your team does whatever they're going to do tonight and this weekend, make sure you go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the DirecTV logo, order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, then you got to have DirecTV. Man, crazy story. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure we had to talk about this on the show back when it happened. Even if not, I'm sure we talked about it, you know, amongst ourselves. But y'all do remember that goalie, that Brazilian goalie, who was sentenced to 22 years for basically having his, was it his girlfriend? Yeah, having his girlfriend tortured, murdered, and fed to his dogs. He was sentenced to 22 years, but he was released in March while appealing that sentence. And the murders happened in 2010, I believe. But he was released in March while he was appealing that 22-year sentence. And he actually signed to a second-tier Brazilian club in the meanwhile. Now, that particular team, they've lost like 5 sponsors since signing the dude, and women's rights groups have been taken to the streets to protest their games and all that kind of stuff. But he's going back to the pen where, you know, if he's guilty of this, which he's been proven guilty of it before, this is probably pretty much where he belongs, man. What are y'all thoughts on this? To rehash this whole thing, tortured, murdered, fed to the dogs, then eventually let out, signed by a soccer team. Like, how talented must you be if there's a team willing to put their name behind you in this situation?
I would like to point out, and I'm probably the War Room. No, not probably. I'm definitely the War Room's resident football fan. That, you know, we talk about how much we love sports. And then every so often, at least once a year, if not twice, one of us goes on a rant of how even though sports is such an integral part of our lives, it's really, we make too much of a deal of sports and its stars and athletes as human beings. And we're guilty of that. We're guilty of that as well. And when you go other places in the world and you see how much power soccer stars have, at some point, you're like, yo, this man committed the most heinous act of murder that you can think of. And because he has a skill and a talent to play a game of amusement, he's, like, allowed to basically walk free and ply his trade because he's good at a sport. Like, there's no other human being. I don't think there's anyone
Yo, but can I read y'all a quote from dude though? Because y'all know he actually confessed to his role in the murder, which is why he was sentenced to his 22 years. He didn't actually murder her, but he confessed to his role, which was ordering the people to kidnap, torture her, and she was pregnant. He found out she was pregnant with his child and was, seeking financial support. He then had her strangled to death and fed to his dogs in an effort to dispose of the evidence. Now, this is what he said upon joining the team when he was getting pushed back and somebody from the media asked him questions about it. He said, dude, what happened, happened. I made a mistake, a serious one, but mistakes happen in life. I'm not a bad guy. People tried to bury my dream because of one mistake, but I asked God for forgiveness. So I'm carrying on with my career, dude. I'm starting over. Yo, he is so delusional.
Yo,
I made a mistake. People tried to bury my dream. You buried this woman.
Yo. My man got on the camera and basically said, yeah, I did it like them sick white boys the court committed to the death of me. I spazzed like I'm on ecstasy. That's what he did there. Bars. But tried to guilt them for burying his dream of playing soccer. My man said, don't steal my joy, though.
Based on that quote, I'm speechless. I have nothing else to say. I can't respond to that. I don't even know I don't know how to say. What
there probably is no response to that. And this response here is not enough. This is not enough, but man, I don't even think a JoJo award is enough for this cat.
B. Austin, you said something that's very powerful, and I don't even know if you recognize what you said, man. But you talked about how because of his talent, he can get away with doing certain things, and that's what you call privilege, man. And we talk about that. We talked about that with with Dez Bryant.
Is it ever?
In this world, man, we try to act like we're all equal, man.
Pac-Man.
But the Pac-Man, the fact of the matter is, when you have any sort of talent, and that talent actually can be an accumulation of wealth, whatever your talent is, it allows you to be treated different than the average person, man. So, not trying to kill anybody's dreams out there listening, but we all aren't equal. We just not. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Fact, though.
Fact,
moving
though.
on.
That's Chuck. That whole thing is Chuck.
Did y'all hear about the former Romanian tennis star? I think his name is like Ilie Nastase. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He reportedly made a racist comment about Serena's unborn baby. And I'm not exactly sure who he was talking to, but Sports Illustrated reported that he said, let's see what color it has. Chocolate with milk. And, for obvious reasons, this comment angered a whole lot of people. It took a couple of days, but Serena actually fired back in the form of an Instagram post. She says, it disappoints me to know we live in a society where people like Nastase can make such racist comments towards myself, an unborn child, and sexist comments against my peers. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This world has come so far, but yet have so much further to go. Yes, we've broken down so many barriers. However, there are a plethora more to go. This or anything else will not stop me from pouring love, light, and positivity into everything I do. I'll continue to take the lead and stand up for what's right. I'm not afraid, unlike you. You see, I'm no coward. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? She's killing him now. You may shoot me with your words. You may try to kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I rise. She went Maya on him.
Oh, she said,
Maya Angelou.
I humbly thank the International Tennis Federation for any consideration given to all the facts in this case. They will have my full support. Serena. She went full Maya on the ball. What did y'all think about that comment? Like, and its necessity at the time? Like, what's the point?
Pure ignorance. I think the dude is just
I've already got in trouble for my opinions on this young lady. Go ahead, Jimmy. My bad. And then I'm gonna give my bars. I got bars.
Because you had some issues. I know you got issues with Serena and but that's either here nor there. But she didn't deserve that. I don't care, what happened. She just didn't deserve that. And it sounds like this dude is just ignorant. Like, how do you think you can? Even if you feel that way, right? Let's assume that you feel that way, and you're, how do you think you can get away with saying that in 2017?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she could have won a lot harder than that. She hit the fire bar, rest in power. But the fact of the
Yo,
matter
Toe
is,
getting you.
oh, yo, Toe, stop it, beloved. But anyway, what I'm saying is Serena could have went a lot harder than that, but she didn't. But I don't understand how you think you can get away with something like that in 2017, man. You got to be smarter than that. So basically, Bo is a dumbass.
I ain't called him a dumbass.
Basically.
I'm actually disappointed. Not disappointed, but your response, Jimmy, assumes that we're beyond a certain point in terms of global race relations, and that's quite simply not true. I mean, if you really think about history and sociology and where white supremacy comes from, I'm definitely not surprised to hear a Romanian gentleman expressing those sentiments. I mean,
Pete this though. No, I'm not saying we passed that though, King. What I'm saying is we also live in a PC world. We live in a PC world, so whether or not he felt that way, like some things you just don't have to vocalize.
PC, not with Trump in office and the lady about to get elected in France. We not PC no more.
Yo, people lose their job on Twitter for less than what he did.
That's true. That's true. You know, I am certainly not surprised at all by his sentiments, and I would actually challenge Serena's response to say that we have come so far. How far have we come, Serena? How far have we come? Really? How far have we come? I don't think we've come as far as people like to pretend. I think it's comfortable for people to live their lives as if we've traversed some great divide. But I think it's painfully obvious with where the world is today that we haven't come that far. And because we're allowed certain privileges and certain things, this world is still based on racism and white supremacy. And you're reminded of that on a week-to-week basis. Like, it's still here. I would also say that to battle white supremacy for people that are born of historically oppressed people, black love is the way to go. But I'm going to leave that and drop that mic and just roll out.
I think where you're going with this, be awesome. But listen to what I'm saying, though. You're right that we haven't come as far as a lot of people think. But at the same time, we have made strides. Now, I'm not on no all lives matter stuff. I ain't with that at all. But here's what I can say, because whether we're talking about politics or economics, that's one thing. But whether we're talking about some of the privileges and rights, that's another thing. But a lot of it is smoke and mirrors.
True.
A lot of it is smoke and mirrors, but I understand exactly where you were going with that. You sent a couple subliminal shots at some people, but that's for them to figure out. But the fact of the matter is, I just feel like for him to say this, like, yo, because I'm on some stuff. Look, I don't care how you feel about me. You dig what I'm saying? Just leave me alone. That's what I'm on. So for him, what was his point in expressing this? That's what I'm saying. What was he trying to accomplish, and what did he think would happen by him doing it?
He feels. I would even say we just talked about privilege and the privilege of athletes. I'd say that's his comments are a combination of athletic privilege and white privilege and European privilege. The ability to feel like and be comfortable in even articulating and expressing that. He obviously in his mind didn't think about any consequences coming his way, or felt as though the consequences weren't a big deal, because this is how he feels, and people probably know how he feels. He just happened to state that fact on somebody that's big enough or large enough for the rest of the world to kind of speak on it. But again, if y'all didn't hear the bars earlier, the only way for black folks to fight white supremacy is black love. But I'm not going to elaborate on that. What's already understood doesn't even need to be spoken on. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
No doubt. I just want to move on and give Travis Rudolph. He's a wide receiver from Florida State. He's a third-day prospect in the NFL draft, which is, this weekend. should be the happiest time of he and his family's life, but he's mourning the loss of his father. His dad, Daryl Rudolph, was a repairman working in a nightclub on Friday morning making repairs. He was accidentally shot and killed because an employee of the club in an adjacent room was moving a loaded gun off of a shelf, and it went off accidentally. So you're probably about to get drafted, probably on day 3 of the draft sometime this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Which means, you know, his plans probably were to be sitting at home with his dad, his family, or whatever when that call came in. And now he has to mourn his dad because of some freak accident, you know, while he was at work, man. So we just wanted to give a shout out to him and rest in peace to his father.
I want to make rest in power. I want to make a comment on that real quick though, because that's just a sad story, man. And you know, I lost my father at a young age, and you never get over it. But
right.
I just feel bad for the brother because this is supposed to be, like you said, one of the best times of his life. And also the question I want to ask both of you gentlemen, I don't know if you've been paying attention to a lot of this draft coverage, but there are a lot of fathers in the building. Now, you know, is this like intentional because of the whole bar ball thing, or are there just more fathers of these athletes here? Because, you know, they always try to paint this picture that the black fathers aren't there. But I'm wondering,
maybe our generation is more. I'm giving props to our generation. Maybe our generation is more responsible.
I mean, it could be. It could be.
These are, you know, people our age.
Could be like our kids.
I'm watching the coverage now. Somebody standing right next to their pop.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it's an intentional thing by the media, because, you know what I'm saying. I pay attention to all the bread and circuses, but you see a lot of fathers within this coverage, and I'm like, is this intentional, or is it like
it's black? It's black fathers in the building. I would say there's a confluence of factors here. In our generation, perhaps the effects of the 80s and crack is wearing off, and we're regressing back to a mean, a more positive mean.
Is that
somewhere?
Is that why they started shooting us recently?
Yeah, they've always been shooting us. But there's that piece, and then I don't know whether it is the LeVar Ball factor, but I will say this: the NFL is large enough and has enough money to have meaningless analysts sitting around analyzing every single thing to get every single penny out of every single piece of digital media and real estate, and I would not put it past them. To try and capitalize on that trend. So I think while I don't know, it's a possibility. It definitely is a possibility.
Okay, good stuff. Real quick, Washington professional football team owner Daniel Snyder donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural festivities. Story or non-story?
Definitely a story. Definitely.
Why?
Because of what Trump represents. You know where Trump stands, and even more than knowing where Trump stands, coming into this election and right after the inauguration, even looking at who he is nominating and appointing, it's painfully clear the position of those that support him and those that are working shoulder to shoulder with him. And you work or you own a team in a predominantly African-American league, and you know that Trump has caused incendiary relationships or conversations within the NFL locker room. That's been documented. So,
but you also know, wait a minute, he's not the only one. Kraft,
I'm sure.
Expect, gave $1 million. Jerry Jones gave $1 million. Los Angeles Rams owner Stanley Kroenke, Jags owner Shad Khan, Jets owner Woody Johnson, Texas owner Bob McNair, all made $1 million donations on different dates. But it's like when you think about it,
it's a broader
expect
conversation
these people to be
than just
Republicans? Hey, let me ask you the question. Do you not expect these dudes to be Republicans? So I'm asking, That's why I'm asking, like, is it a story or is it just these dudes giving money to their party?
I think it's a broader conversation, and I think that because Donald Trump stands clearly outside of the bounds of traditional Republicanism and the traditional Republicans, yeah, I think it becomes a story. There was an interesting comment made on Twitter, and I wish I knew who said it so I could give them credit. I will find it, listeners. But a gentleman said, it's not that I feel as though everyone supporting Trump is racist. It's just that now I understand that those supporting Trump don't view white supremacy or racism as a big enough deal to take a stand against that evil.
Again,
so that's the issue.
When it comes to Daniel Snyder, that's why I asked you if this is a story. What about Daniel Snyder? Like, what didn't we know as it relates to this about Daniel Snyder? He spent the last 10 years of his life telling Native Americans, FOH, we're going to keep using y'all as mascots and calling, naming my team after a racial slur. So that's why, that's the only reason I'm asking, like, really a story? This is just something you expect right now.
Listen, man, me, right?
I think it's something we expect.
Damn.
We would expect that. My bad, brothers.
No, I just want to say real fast that I have a different perspective than B. Austin because, and I love the fact that everybody is quote unquote woke. Nobody can tell me who donated anything to Barack Hussein Obama's inauguration or George Herbert Walker Bush's inauguration. But at the same time, outside of that, right? They made us consider this good business. I remember when I was a young buck working in the real estate game, I worked for a broker who would donate to local politicians. He would donate to both R and D. And he was like, yo, it's good business. I don't even care what their platform is, but if they're going to, if they win office, it's good business for me to be in, on them books as being someone who donated. So I don't even take all these donations as saying they agree with his policies or anything that he says. I look at it as like being a cost of business. I remember when Microsoft went through the antitrust thing and when Google got in trouble, what have you, one of the reasons they said that they got attacked that way is because basically they weren't paying to play. They weren't donating. In response to that, Google now has a political action committee. They have one of the biggest ones in the world where they donate literally to both parties. So, it's sort of like politicians strong-arm you to make sure that, if you want to have our ear, this is what we need you to do. Shout out to Eddie Murphy, who taught me this as a kid, and Distinguished Gentleman. I learned the game very early from Eddie Murphy. Salute to him for that. But that's kind of how the game is played, man. So, I not that I agree with anything regarding Daniel Snyder because I think it's a disgrace what he's doing with the name of his professional football team. And he more than likely, looking at his track record, like Dev said, he could agree with some of this stuff. But at the same time, when you look at the number of people and the number of businessmen and the businesses they're in donating to his campaign, I don't think that's like a cosign necessarily. It's like, yo, I gave you this bread, so when I need something, remember who you got this bread from.
It's not a cosign, it's a brown nose.
Essentially, yes.
I absolutely respect that perspective because you are educating, probably educating some of our listeners. But I think that this election, and you could say Barack Obama's historic election, provided an opportunity and a platform for people that were making donations to kind of speak up or withhold, depending on perspective and the action that you chose to pursue. Robert Kraft, and I like the fact, Dev, that you named specific owners because Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones, I'm not sure about Daniel Snyder, and I'm not sure about the Rams owner, but those two names specifically have come out in support of Trump. So there was mouth behind, or there was meaning and intent behind those donations. Even if they put $1 million behind the donkeys, the $1 million behind the elephant, they chose to speak up on supporting that particular guy. Now we know Jerry Jones is all about attention. There is no such thing as bad publicity, but he spoke up.
I think we've all kind of expressed like three different perspectives. Like you said what you just said. Jimmy said, it could possibly be a brown nose rather than a cosign. And me, I'm just saying, look at who we're dealing with. Like, are you surprised? Like, is this a big deal?
No.
Like, I just
No
don't feel
surprise.
there's a reason to be shocked. This man has spent the last decades telling Native Americans to, they can go to hell, and paying the ones who would allow themselves to be paid to speak out and coon against their people. So I'm not shocked. Like,
Right.
okay. You're telling me
Right.
something like I hadn't thought about it before, but really I would think to myself right now, like, okay, who didn't know that? But last
Right.
thing on the ground,
Right.
man, because we're running way behind. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on something that happened way back in 1991. Now, we all know what Craig Hodges, former NBA player, has always been about, other than just shooting three-pointers. He was basically blackballed out of the league because of his stance, his activism. In 1991, 3 months after the Rodney King beatings, and at a time when 32% of the black population of Illinois, the state that he played ball in, lived below the poverty line, he tried to get Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson to boycott Game 1 of the 1991 NBA Finals, just to send a message, voicing his opposition to the injustice and trying to get his teammates and basically the bigger names in the series on board. Needless to say, both of these dudes told him FOH. Anything y'all surprised about here? Or is it like, because I'm thinking like, would this is probably a difficult situation, considering that it was the NBA Finals. Like, what he's thinking is great. Let's take their biggest stage and send a message on their biggest stage. But at the same time, you're talking to dudes who were driven by this game, driven by this quest of championships. I'm pretty sure you guys aren't surprised that he didn't get any support on this. But are you guys mad at Michael and Magic for giving him the good old FOH?
Well, here's my perspective on this, right? We all try not to judge people, but let's face it, we all judge people, and I'm very judgy. But the one thing I've recognized with the climate in the country is that need to be less judgy when it comes to athletes, because we always try to say, well, Muhammad Ali did this and Bill Russell did that, and the fact is that's
why they were different.
John Carlos.
Right.
That's what I'm not trying to leave anybody out. I'm just using an example. So that's what makes these guys special.
That's
right?
what kind of overrates them in the history of their particular games.
Absolutely, right. And then I think about it from this perspective, right? These are younger guys, and I think about myself at that age. I would have been conflicted as well. See, it's easy for me to sit back now and say what it is. I'm an old washed dude. You know what I'm saying?
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Well, I'm not quite 40 yet, but you get the point. I'm a grown man now. So as a grown man, I have a different perspective. And when I think about, these kids blowing money fast or not standing up for certain things, you have to understand their age. Now, when Magic and Michael played, they still were young. Like, they were younger than, any of us are now. So, and then there's a different thing, too. There's a different thing by saying, hey, I got this big stage. I can boycott, or I can show excellence on this stage. So there's an argument to be made on that side as well. So I really wouldn't judge him. Craig Hodges, and bless him for that. He was just use this again. It's the theme of the show. He was hashtag woke, and very on it at an early age. But
what he had to realize, and I don't think he held animosity towards him or anything, but what he had to realize, those guys had way more to lose than he did. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you could be the one organizing this, but if Magic and Michael boycott Game 1 of the NBA Finals, it's going to go down in history just as that. Magic and Michael boycott Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Nobody's going to give a damn about Craig Hodges.
Nothing about Craig Hodges.
Who actually organized it, and this is his thing. It's not going to go down in history like that. He's just going to be somebody.
It probably won't. Other than amazing 30 for 30, it would have generated. But at the same time, right? Here's something else to think about. The fact of the matter is, they didn't do it. History happened. Yada yada yada. But my problem is, like I said, I'm not trying to judge anyone, because you got to look at these are kids, and their mind could be somewhere else. But when you get to be an older player, or an older ex-player, and you still don't do anything, with your money or your power, then you have selfish success, as my man Ali said, the brother that broke up the fight in AC. You have selfish success, right? So my problem isn't with Michael, because there's a lot of stories about Michael being asked to do X, Y, Z when he played. My problem is Michael over the last 20 years, who's still up until last year. I ain't gonna get into that because that'll turn into a whole nother hour. But the point is, when you get to a certain age, now I'm going to hold you accountable because now you should know. You should know better.
No doubt. All right, well, that's what happened this week, good people, while y'all were on that grind. I mean, let's update these NBA playoffs real quick before we get into this draft stuff.
Yeah, you already know, man. And salute to Dev for losing it because I know Dev be trying to keep us on track time-wise, and we be going in. And y'all know I'm loving this new format, by the way. Anyway, it's time to talk about the NBA Wrap, which is brought to you by Sports to Book. If you're tired of reading the same old sports book that's just basically weak, you want to level up and get Sports to Book. Smart people only read the sports. The acronym itself is powerful. You can get it at sportstobook.com or at warrensports.com, but you definitely want to cop it. Do not miss the movement. It's the greatest sports book ever written. And by the way, I got more bars coming this summer. Anyway, gentlemen.
They playing, all right.
Yo, real quick, though, I know Dev, we got to give Dev has to give his picks. The NBA picks in terms of who's he giving his award to. We had a segment last week which was complete trash because me and B had almost damn near the same picks, although we weren't in the same room. We didn't talk about it, and it made the whole segment trash. So I know Dev had a chance to listen, so I hope he switched his pick so he won't make it even more trash.
No, but actually
anyway.
I didn't listen to last week's show just because of that.
Okay.
I haven't listened yet. So I tuned in for like the end of the show when I was riding in the car. I'm going to cuss my family and friends out when Dad don't even listen, be awesome. I listen all the time, so I just didn't listen for this particular reason. Like I'm trying to stay away from conversations that I know we still might end up having. So let me do mine real quick so we can move on to the important stuff. I just want to be on record. Executive of the year. I'm going to go Daryl Morey with this one. You know, shout out to Bob Myers. But, you know, Bob Myers, it was one of those things where you just had something drop into your lap. So I don't know how much credit I'm going to give you for that. On the other hand, you know, Daryl Morey had to basically put in that work. I lost my train of thought. As far as, you know, hiring a new coach, making sure that system that the coach brought in was going to be right for your superstar. It ended up being right. Your superstar had an MVP caliber year. You lined him up with shooters, and, you know, the Rockets just had a pretty good regular season, and they're continuing it so far, even though, you know, what they've done in the past week has no bearing on this. I'm going to go Daryl Morey. Most improved player for me, it was between Isaiah Thomas and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Isaiah Thomas, I'm going to give it to him, edging it. You know, it's always amazing to me with the 5'9" little fake Zeke has been doing all year long, averaging 29 points a game. That's nothing to sneeze at, even though Giannis is going to be one of the very top players in the league in the years to come, because dude can do everything at his size. But I'm going to go Isaiah Thomas with that. Sixth man was between Iggy and Eric Gordon for me. I edged that one to Eric Gordon, even though Iggy's giving you more on both sides of the ball. Eric Gordon was very instrumental in what Houston was able to do this season, especially from behind the arc, opening things up more for that team. Coach of the year, I'm going to go Brad Stevens from the Boston Celtics. Like, I heard the Boston Celtics hype before the season started, but in no way did I think that hype, even in the lowly East, I didn't think that hype was going to garner a number one seed in the conference. So I'm going to go with Brad Stevens. Shout out to D'Antoni, and shout out to Spo. I think he did a masterful job just missing out on the playoffs. Had they made the playoffs, I might have given them a little bit more consideration. Defensive player of the year, shout out to Draymond, Whiteside, and Kawhi, but I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert. Rookie of the year, man, I want to just stop playing and give it to the obvious best rookie in the league, who is Embiid, but I just don't feel like 31 games out of an 82-game season should be enough to win you any of these awards. So I'm going to go with his teammate, Dario Saric. Embiid, you still my dude. You might get an MVP one day. And the MVP, I've been saying it for the last few weeks, last few months. I'm going to go with Russell Westbrook. What he's done with that particular roster was no short of amazing to me. The critics can say whatever they will. 42 triple doubles. We never thought we would see anybody average a triple double again in this league. He did it, and judging by their record with and without him, it seems like they needed every one of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with Russell Westbrook. I'm sure we'll have more conversations about this in the coming weeks. I don't really like how the NBA is doing an award show this year, because by June 26th, nobody's really going to give a damn about any of these awards. But that's me. I'm on record.
They're trying to get that NFL money.
I was thinking the same thing, B. Austin. They trying to get the NFL on. They know what they're doing. It was like, yo, we trying to just basically copy what they do, man.
I know, but the thing is, the NFL, since it's a once a week thing, you know what I'm saying? You only got to wait a few weeks. The playoffs aren't that long. And the NBA, the playoffs like 2 months. The playoffs 2 months. Like, who the hell?
Playoffs another season.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of that, because I was thinking about this the other day as I was watching like a series that I really just like have no interest in. And it's funny because they market stars, but I thought to their marketing, because there's just certain teams I just don't care to watch, but I love to watch. Like when OKC was playing Houston, I'm watching Bron, I'm watching Golden State. I fell for the trap. But my point is, what do you guys think about them instead of expanding the playoffs, like taking some of that back? Like, I think it would make it a lot better. Like, instead of having 2 series every night, have one. Kind of like if you can't do what the NFL does on a regular season, on your regular season, because you have 80 gazillion games, how about doing it during the playoffs? So each game becomes like its own event. So instead of having back-to-backs on, like, Monday, have one game on Monday, one on Tuesday, but you get rid of some of the NBA teams. So instead of having, 8 teams on each side, do 6.
I was about to say, that sounds like they would have to take away some of the teams out of the pool.
I think that'd be fire, though.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm good with it as is. I don't know if I'm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would fully be against getting rid of the whole conference thing, though, where, you just put the best 16 teams in the playoffs. I might be with that. But, it's cool, having different games to watch every night. Because even the ones that don't have the big stars in them, they've been having some pretty good games.
Be Austin, man. No, be Austin, man. Stop, man. You got to cut. No, come on, man. Don't do this to me, B. Austin.
Because you trying
No, you're not.
Jimmy trying to get rid of playoff games so he can have more TV time, more pizza time.
No. You're not going along with what I'm saying, though, beloved. Peep this though. I'm saying that it'll make the games more interesting. If I have one game to watch that night. See, the thing with the NFL, which makes it amazing, is like they're like events. Like, the thing with the NBA is like, but see, Dev is different. Dev is a purist. Dev still watch like random Milwaukee games in the middle of like a Tuesday night. Like, no, I'm off that, B. It's just hard for me to watch Milwaukee play, period. And they got one of the best players in the world, but like they Milwaukee. Anyway,
I still love this thing of ours. I'm trying to see Giannis Antetokounmpo do his thing.
Me too, playing for the Lakers. But listen, though, here's my point, though.
They got a young squad, though, in Milwaukee.
I know, but they gotta up that squad and take them out of Milwaukee, though. But here's my thing, though, right? I'm saying that it makes the games more interesting because there's only one thing going at that time, man. Like, these back-to-back games.
So you can have more time for other ish.
No, it's not about
other ish.
Give me some good pregame and all that. No, it's not about that. Listen, I know how I feel about doing other stuff. I'm talking about in general. I think, get rid of some of these playoffs. There's too many. 16 teams.
Man. Let's analyze.
Half the league make the playoffs, cuz.
I don't know. I'm cool with that.
Cool with that. I'm good. I'm good with that.
You like mediocrity, that's all.
Nah, I don't like mediocrity at all, man. I'm down with seeing Joe Johnson average, 20 in the playoffs because he didn't do ish in the regular season. I'm trying to see that.
Yeah, but what my thing is, Joe Johnson would still be in the playoffs if you know what I'm saying, if you went against what if you're going to what I'm saying, Joe Johnson still will be there. I'm talking about I'm talking about getting rid of like what was the point of Indiana? Like they were a waste of time.
It was
I disagree with that.
But if you actually watch the game, completely. That was a pretty good series.
They're close.
Like every game was close.
Game.
They just couldn't. It was the same thing with we're about to talk about this stuff anyway. A lot of this stuff, the games were good, but if you look at the series numbers and how it ended, you would think like, oh man, that was a waste of time, but it was good basketball.
Indiana is a playoff team. Like they're not a wash because they got LeBron on.
Well, and the thing is, they're number 7, right? So they're number 7. And you watch the other one. There's a 1-8, which is first of all, is a fraudulent 1 and a fraudulent 8, if you ask me. My point is,
it is a fraudulent. It is a fraudulent 1 and a fraudulent 8.
My point is this though. My point is, if you reduced it to 6 on each side, I think I gotta watch my language. I was about to say it's kind of never mind, but it's I think it's ridiculous that more than half the league makes the playoffs.
We got to get into these games, man. We got to get in these games.
I'll bet. But anyway, man. So B. Austin going front like he ain't what I'm saying. But let's get into the games, man. We got Warriors versus the Blazers. They swept the Blazers 4-0. The Blazers could have stayed home. Although, like you guys said, the games were close. We got to watch the backcourt of the Blazers get it in. But the Warriors still got him out of here. Shout out to DA. Got him the F out of here.
What everybody expected. The only thing I wanted to bring up about the Warriors is this whole Steve Kerr situation. He's missing games in the playoffs, and we've come to realize that his, the back surgery that he had a few years ago, like it's way more serious than anybody would have imagined. And you read stuff and you see there's a possibility that he may not be back on the bench for them. So it's like you look at what they did last year, starting out the way they did in that record-breaking season. They kind of got Luke Walton a job. Now, Mike Brown, who we always wonder how he keeps getting jobs, he mess around and get this dude a championship on his resume, and we got to see Mike Brown on the sideline for a long time to come once he gets that on his resume. So, Steve Kerr he's just a giver, man. He's the gift that keeps on giving to his coaching staff.
Listen, man. In the words of Russell Simmons, man, you're a great giver. You're a great receiver. Pause that. But fact of the matter is, Steve Kerr will be blessed because he got my man Luke Walton a job. He's about to get Mike Brown several jobs. It's crazy because I feel sorry for him when you hear about like what he's struggling with because it just the reading the article sounds painful. Like what I'm saying, just when they describe the pain that he's going through, you're like, that's crazy, man. But the Warriors, man, it's going to be difficult for anybody to get them out of there. As I watched them play, and even as competitive as Portland was, it's like they just got too much firepower. Like,
and Jim, they pretty much did that without Kevin Durant, pretty much.
Yeah, they did that whole series. Kev only showed up
he played
one
a little
game.
bit, but
and that's the thing they got too. Like, it's too much firepower, man. Like Kevin Durant, kind of like because he's been considered one of the top 3 players in the league for a little while at this point. It makes you forget just how good Clay is. Like, and then at some point they get up on Clay and now Draymond's hitting threes. Iggy's coming off the bench. It's like they just got way too much firepower.
David West.
My man Sean Livingston might be the best post-up guard in the league, and he don't even start.
He like the 9th man off the bench, though.
Oh, no. He doesn't even seem to be playing the role that he played last season.
Man, and it's funny, though, because that meme that was going around, that meme that was going around about Kevin Durant might have been like the funniest thing because there's so much truth in it. Like, we didn't really need you, but getting you off of that team gives us a clear
we just
path.
needed you not to be your uncle in the city.
Yeah, getting you off that team gives us a clearer path, man. Because in the West, man, like, and salute the as I call him now, Kobe Y. Leonard, because boy looking like Kobe lately. Kobe Y. Leonard.
And I forgot they got Matt Barnes. And JaVale McGee is playing very well in his role.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Like,
JaVale McGee.
JaVale fits with what they do. Like, JaVale McGee can't, like, it's one of those things where it's a perfect puzzle piece. He fits with what they do. But outside of Kobe Y. Leonard and his bunch, Survive's team, like, and I don't even see them competing with Golden State. I just don't know, like, I mean, like, LeBron gonna basically have to put his cape on and get his Superman on in order to get them out of here, man. That's a tough out, man. It's kind of unfair, but it's a tough out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I appreciated seeing the Blazers. I appreciated seeing the Blazers rock, and I believe that they're a true playoff team, but that was really just a tune-up and a workout for Golden State. Like, and I feel bad for my man Dame Dollars and the most confident man in the world, C.J. McCollum, because they deserve a playoff series, man. They're not going to get one against Golden State.
Yeah, so anyway, man, another series that's down 4-0, we just talked about it briefly, was LeBron Raymond James in the sweep of the Pacers. They got the Pacers out of here. What do you guys think about Paul George and his future and the Pacers getting out of here?
I don't really think he has a future with the Pacers. I think he might be with your squad sooner or later with the purple and gold. Quick thoughts on that series. I thought it was entertaining. Paul George shows you that he belongs in the conversations of, some of the top players in the league. But the Pacers as a whole, in my opinion, it was one of those things where all the games were competitive, all the games were close. And then at the end, Cleveland shows you why, they're the defending champions, and Indiana shows you why they're 7th seed. It was all about closing games out, and the Pacers had big trouble trying to do that. I mean, in one game they held like a 26-point lead, let Cleveland come all the way back, and they couldn't hold them off. So,
Now,
I would say, they can build on that. But I think Paul George is going to be gone at some point, so I don't think it's going to be much built.
My opinion of Paul George is this. I think Paul George is a phenomenal talent. I don't know if he's a number one. I think that if he was like a number two, he'd probably be the best number two on the team. But when I watched the Pacers and even the Trailblazers play, I kind of feel sorry for them in this sense. Like, when you look at how the team is constructed and how they're built, you see what the GM is trying to do. And they put together good teams, and they're like literally like a superstar away from competing for a title. But the fact of the matter is, superstars aren't going to Indiana or Portland. They're super teaming up. So it's like they're only going to be able to be but so good. The same thing applies when I watch Utah play. Like, see what they were trying to do in terms of putting that team together. But if they don't get a superstar, because superstars like in the NBA make more of a difference than any other sport. Like, take any of the top superstars and you drop them on any of the three teams I mentioned, and they're competing for a title because they built good teams. But it's like that's exactly where they're going to be. They're going to be 8-7.
I'm a big Paul George fan, but I understand what you're saying with him being a 1. I think Paul George is closer to like a 1.5, maybe. Maybe if he had a big that was his equal, that team could be more successful, if he's 1A and 1B type of thing. But you're right. I think if he's 1 and somebody else has to be 2, I don't really think that's a championship caliber team. So maybe a 1A, 1B situation.
That's why I said if he's a 2, like I said, if he's a 2, he's at the top of the food chain.
If he's
the top 2 in the world.
He's Scottie Pippen if he's a 2.
But, he's definitely Scottie Pippen. He's very Scottie Pippen.
I'm disappointed in that series. And it's more so kind of the same way. The way I used to hate. I used to pick a star and say, "You go be better than Kobe," and then they could never live up to that. They have a spark when they started, but then I feel kind of like Paul George was one of my guys to kind of fight for the throne with LeBron, when in reality, even though LeBron has no perceptible skill or go-to move, he's so great that I think the Pacers just got LeBron. Like, Paul George, again, in his own right, is tremendous, but he's just not able to will that team to beating a LeBron-led team. Now, granted, the Cavs have Kyrie Irving. The Cavs have Kevin Love. The Cavs have Earl. Like, they're definitely a good team. But Paul George didn't have enough help. I see where the GM is going, but again, as you said, Paul George is leaving town. Like, that was the last game, I believe, possibly the last game you're going to see Paul George in an Indiana Pacers uniform, and that was it. I mean, again, I wonder, that kind of turned out to be a tough tune-up.
I wonder how
Paul George and Boogie could get down.
I wonder how it feels to be that good of a player, but you just happen to play at a time when, like, you know, there's one of the all-time greats
LeBron.
playing.
Yeah,
I just wonder how it feels. Like, sort of.
Jimmy,
sort of
ask
like
Charles,
if
ask Pat Ewing.
Well, that's where I was going with that. I wonder how that feels like if you're Dominique Wilkins or something, and you're like, yo, I'm nice, but this dude right here, man, like, that's got to be the most frustrating, because you know you're nice, but it's like, yo, I'm just happen to play at a time when this dude is all world. You know what I mean? It's got to be very, very frustrating, man.
Is there a difference in Paul George pre-injury to post-injury? Do y'all see a difference? Numbers-wise, I don't.
I mean, I don't really see. I'm shocked when I watch him play that it's not a bigger difference, because I remember how gruesome that injury was, and when I watch him play, I'm in shock that he's still able to do what he does, man. So to answer that question for me is a no. But anyway, getting to the next series, man. Let's talk about the Clippers and the Clippers trail the Jazz 3-2. The Utah Jazz and one of B. Austin's guys, Joe Johnson, ISO Joe. The Jazz have a nice young squad, and they're actually up on the Clippers, man. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on this series, because the Clippers coming into the season were like one of the favorites to challenge the Warriors.
And the Clippers coming into the last 4 seasons is one of the favorites in the NBA, man.
This is true.
The Clippers being the Clippers, man. This is
curse of Donald Sterling, yo.
It's the curse of the overrated as well. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I always tell y'all this. Like, Chris Paul is the dude that, you know, if my son really starts to pick up this game, you know, he's the point guard that I want him to watch the most, to pick up actual point guard skills. But at the same time, it's like, here we go again with Chris Paul getting off the hook for the same stuff that other players of his ilk get bashed for. Like, at this point, you know, besides the fact that the Knicks haven't made the playoffs in a minute, I don't see much of a difference between Chris Paul and a Carmelo Anthony. Like, somebody told me yesterday that the difference was Chris Paul is a 6-time first-team all NBA defensive guy. And I'm sitting there like, okay, if you believe that to be, you know, legitimate, then fine. But I don't see Chris Paul guarding anything but the passing lanes. That's all reputation, in my opinion. But he does have the distinction, the accolades, and it's something that you can't take away. So be it. But he also gets the excuses. You know, Blake got hurt again. But still, this team is very, very talented. And they haven't lost the series yet. And they, you know, it's a possibility they can win the next 2. But damn.
To go a little deeper to your point, a little deeper to your point, what I have heard, you know, and if you believe Big Baby Davis, there's discord in that locker room and huge egos. Allegedly, Blake and Chris Paul don't get along. They don't like each other. DeAndre Jordan wants to get the ball more and wants to be featured more. And they've lost a lot of steam on their bench from a combination of really not having quality players on the bench, and Jamal Crawford, God bless him, one of my favorites of all time. He still can heat up and give you a 30-point performance every now and again. But, like, they literally used to depend on him to give them 18 to 22 a game off the bench. And I don't think that he's that player anymore. And so combination of Chris Paul getting on everybody's nerves, not getting along with Blake, not getting along with, with DeAndre, and then J.J. Redick being an overachiever. I love J.J. Redick's game, but if he's your two, a lot of talent on the floor, but that kind of falls on the shoulders. If there is discord, that falls on the shoulders of the leader of the team. Who's the leader? Chris Paul. As you say, Melo gets a lot of flack for not being a leader, not playing defense, not delivering. It's the same thing with Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of believe that whole notion that, Chris Paul is a glorified, very talented, soon to be Hall of Famer who is a bit of a loser when it comes playoff time.
But the whole leader thing, I don't think you're going to find anybody else to tell you that Chris Paul isn't a leader, whether he is or isn't. The appearances say that he's a great leader. So that's the MO that he gets, just like his accolades tell you that he's a great defender. Now, some of us may know that that's not true, but it kind of is what it is. But I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Yeah, my whole thing with Chris Paul and the rap he gets in terms
for balling.
In terms of Melo, I think it's literally the teams they play for is one, and I think they're going to be a victim of the whole super teaming thing. Is they're a victim of that. They're not going to be able to compete for a title, him or Melo, unless they go super team up. It's like these guys that have super team, they're basically forcing everybody else to, or they're just going to be mediocre. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's going on. Anyway, moving on to another series, because the Clippers still can come back. The Raptors lead the Bucks 3-2. What do you guys think about this series?
Exciting series. The Bucks started out with a boom. The Raptors kind of came back and restored order to the series. It's been pretty good. I don't have much on that one. It is exciting to see the young Bucks play, but I think, I think their time may come. I think Toronto's right at the ship, and I think it's probably about to be over.
Youth and experience and what will be versus what is in the East. I think Toronto, as a more established and experienced team, is going to make it onto that level where they can, eventually face that buzzsaw that is Cleveland and get chopped up, as opposed to the Bucks facing that buzzsaw and getting chopped up. So, Kyle Lowry and the Bull DeMar DeRozan, I'm so proud of you, mid-range. They're going to get this series.
Oh, I mean, my only comment on this series is like, I don't even care. The Rockets have defeated the Thunder 4-1. Shout out to Russell Westbrook, who averaged more triple doubles than he got wins in this series. I know the people that hate Russell will love that one, but nonetheless, the Rockets are the better team.
Yeah,
so no one thought
funny
they would anyway.
How this series was a bunch of close games. Some good performances by multiple people in the series, but no doubt about it, the series was all about Russell Westbrook, whether you love him or hate him. The nitpickers were out to nitpick. He had a couple of fourth quarters where his shot got cold, but he kept on shooting. People will look at it and say that Russ shot them out of the game. Other folks will look at it and say, okay, when Russ went to the bench with the 12-point lead and comes back and the game is tied, he feels like he has to put on the Superman cape, which in many instances it's probably true, but I'm not going to excuse him from every single thing he did in the fourth quarter of the series. At some point, you do have to play smarter basketball, but man, I understand how difficult that might be when you're playing on a team like that. And the crazy part is the people, they just want to dislike this dude. Like they're talking about, like the only thing they talk about is the two games where he went cold in the fourth, but nobody really wants to acknowledge the real and the fact that in only a 5-game series, with Russell Westbrook on the floor, this team was like a +6 or something like that. And with him off the floor, they were like a -50 something.
Yeah,
like, come on, like
minus, it was
being on the floor makes them a better team.
They were +14. They were +14.
Let me ask you guys a question. Right, one of my homies is very objective when it comes to this. Not a Russell hater. He made a point to me that I really thought about. And he talks about one of the reasons that we love Russ is for how hard he plays every possession. He said, but sometimes in the playoff or like a big time game atmosphere, that can kind of like work against him in the fourth quarter, because he said the one thing that Russell doesn't know how to do is pace. So when you generally watch a playoff game, things slow down in the fourth quarter. Like each possession matters more. Right. But Russ is 110 miles an hour
game
from
from
the start to finish. Yeah. So he was saying that in his opinion, that he just got coaches on the collegiate level, and D1. So he was telling me that he thinks that that may be a detriment. And I was like, I never thought about it that way, because one of the things I do like about Russ is how hard he goes. But I didn't put all the thought into when the fourth quarter comes in a playoff game, he doesn't know how to pace and make every possession.
I absolutely think that's a great point. It's highlighted by the fact that, whether or not he wants to admit it, he wants to be Mr. Teammate in the press conferences, but it's highlighted by the fact that he knows what he means to the team. He knows what it is when he's on and off the floor. Like I said, in the fourth quarter,
he knows his team ain't shit.
If it's a close game or whatever, whether they're winning or losing, he just feels that hero ball is necessary in the fourth quarter. And while, like to Jimmy's point, while the game is slowing down and the other team at least is playing at more of a controlled pace because these possessions start to mean more and more, Russ is out there just still grinding and going hard. So he does have to learn some kind of control on that. But I will say this, man, them losing that series in 5, like Russell Westbrook was not the reason that they lost that series. And it irks me to hear people saying that's the case.
I feel as though we are both you guys are putting on your objectivity hat, and you're trying to be fair in the analysis. Let's keep it all the way a million. Russell Westbrook plays with dookie, poop, and trash truck juice at most of the positions, and Vic ashamed of himself. Steven Adams ought to be ashamed of himself, because it's like you can say, Russ, learn how to play with pace, learn how to slow it down, learn how to value possessions in the fourth quarter. But looking at that roster, there's no way for him to even take the steps to learn that, because he doesn't trust and believe, and rightfully so, with the roster he has and the teammates he has, that he can do that. Like there's nothing saying that if he took the time to say, you know what, let me throttle it back, let me they're not gonna get the production of a shot off of him doing that. So it's kind of like, okay, you can nitpick, you can point those things out, and it's not without merit, but that's not the roster that he can do it with. If you exchanged him with James Harden and Russ was still gunning the way he's gunning, then maybe you could have a leg to stand on, because he would have a Gordon, he'd have a Beverly, he'd have a Trevor Ariza, he'd have, but with that squad, Roberson can't play basketball.
It takes me back a little bit to this whole MVP race, because you watched in this series how, James Harden was allowed to have a couple of mediocre games for his, for his level. They were mediocre games. And this team still won the game. Like Russell Westbrook cannot have a mediocre game. This team goes as he goes. And that's the difference, I think, in that race, because you can see Harden struggling, but the team still being able to pick him up. If Russell is struggling, then OKC is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you what Russell's problem is.
With James Harden, real quick, Jimmy. James Harden out of the game. The Houston Rockets in that series were +25. James Harden in the game. they're plus 14. So the numbers, we know it's not really the case based on the eye test, but with the numbers would tell you that the Rockets are actually even better with Harden on the bench. So he's got talent in the squad.
That's what analytics would tell you. Unless they were arguing for that, they would try to, omit that. Go ahead, Jim.
So here's the thing, though. Here's what I recognize. This is not analytics because, you know what I'm saying, I love analytics, but I also, know, and, people say, well, the eye test. I also, go on what I feel. And what I feel is this, right? When I watch Houston, they have a lot of guys with, confidence, whether they need to or not. When I watch Patrick Beverley, his confidence is greater than his talent. Eric Gordon's confidence is greater than his talent. He has guys that, they think they're nice. Whether they're nice or not, because Eric Gordon is nice, but they think they're nicer than they are, shall I say. Them dudes on OKC, when you watch that body language, they don't even think they're good. Oladipo doesn't show any confidence.
Jimmy, Roberson should be the one ashamed of himself. They did hack-a-shack on him. He was basically the reason he and Billy Donovan, because Billy Donovan wouldn't take him off the floor.
And that's another thing. That's one thing that also has to be pointed out. Billy Donovan did a terrible job, complete terrible job this whole series. And if you want to keep it a buck, Billy Donovan did a terrible job last year when they had Durant.
Right.
Last year when they had that, he did a test. Billy Donovan gets to the playoffs and is he can't. He's getting out coached every time.
That's the thing, and you can, it's easy to see Roberson's impact. He's a very good defensive player, but if he's in there to the detriment of the team, if he is really negatively impacting the game in the final 4 minutes because they want to run a hack-a-shack on him and he will not make a free throw being a guard or a small forward, whatever he's playing at the time, that's disgraceful. And Billy Donovan, you at that point, you just got to lose your defender and take him out until the last 2 minutes of the game. And he rode it out and let this man miss so many foul shots in the fourth quarter of the closing minutes of a very close game. And I didn't really get why he allowed that. And for Patrick Beverley, the little shots he took at Westbrook in the press conference after the game, when he was talking about, when they started jawing in the third quarter, and he said, Russ looked up at the scoreboard and said, I got 40, you can't guard me. So he looks at the score sheet and says, but it took you 34 shots to get it. First of all, everybody who was spreading that clip around the internet because you don't like Wes, kill yourself. Because when they had this little jawing contest, I believe that was in the third quarter. In the third quarter, Russell had 20 points in that particular quarter, and he went 2 for 11 in the fourth quarter. So up until the end of the third quarter, he was about 13 for 23, had 40-plus points, damn near a triple-double, and had just dropped 20 points in the third quarter. So Patrick Beverley, at the time when he looked up and said he got 40, you can't guard me, he was torching your ass. So stop, feeding on this men lie, women lie, numbers don't BS, and trying to stunt for the cameras and for the people who really dislike this dude by saying it took you 34 shots to get it, because the rest of those, 13 of those shots was totally out of context of that particular statement. So I don't really like when he did that. I like Patrick Beverley. I like what Jimmy said about him. I like the confidence that he shows. Patrick Beverley thinks he's Chris Paul. He thinks he's that dude. He shoots threes where I'm like, why is he shooting threes? Because Patrick Beverley is not that good of a shooter. He's improved, but, he's a good defender, but he's not the kind of dude that should be going around in press conferences,
Listen, man,
every team, one of the best offensive players in the league, as if he locked him up.
Every team needs a guy like that, man. B. Austin calls them irrational confidence guys. I think that's what you call them. But every team needs one of them, man.
Yeah.
But
the talent that the Rockets have, and we didn't even talk about Lou Williams because he wasn't a huge impact on that series, but essentially they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 4 perimeter guys that can basically give you 20. They have 4 perimeter guys that can give you 20.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I
come on,
don't know anybody in
And-
their right mind besides Super Westbrook stans and people from Oklahoma City who thought that Oklahoma was going to win that series. So, and shout out to the Houston Rockets owner who got up and walked onto the court like a G while the game was playing and gave the ref a couple of bars. He was fined $100,000 for it. I have no idea what he said, but it must have been something crazy. Unless they're just going on the fact that he walked onto the court while the game was being played. But yeah, we got to hurry up and get through these because we got to.
Yeah, we definitely do. But I'm gonna tell you right now,
and then Fred's coming on at 30 after the hour.
If I'm ever able to own a team, I'm gonna get fined for that all the time because I'm just gonna be walking on the court. You know what I'm saying? And I might grab my Bozak.
I'm gonna have a fine fun. I'm definitely gonna have a fine fun.
I might grab my own Bozak when I do it too, so I'm definitely gonna be fine.
Yo, shout out to Beast Mode.
Yeah, man. So, salute to the NBA and everything. With this, John, the Celtics Bulls. You guys really want to say anything about that?
Just the fact, the Bulls, went into Boston and won 2 games, and everybody pretty much thought it was over because that's how we react in this society. Boston's done a great job to go up 3-2 in the series. A lot of that also has something to do with Rondo and his thumb, because Rondo was controlling the series from the point guard position like the Rondo of old. He brought it back out for this playoff run. So it would be interesting to see how it plays out if he was still here. But I think the fact that he's not here, I think Boston is taking control of the series, and they're going to escape that 1-8.
I just want to say this one thing. I hate watching Boston play. All they do is jack threes, yo. They are just.
If you hate that, then you hate the NBA, which I do.
I mean, the NBA. No,
everybody.
The NBA is like that too. But in Golden State jacks up a lot of threes, as does Houston. But that's all the Celtics do. That's all the Celtics do. At least Cleveland has played.
I'm telling you, everybody do.
You saying you hate Boston? I hate Houston. Houston guns worse than Boston.
Oh, no, they absolutely do. But the thing about it is you still have Harden and you still have LeBron and Kyrie that put people in the blender from here. Well, LeBron doesn't put anybody in the blender. He just runs right by them or over them. But you still get that excitement of some slashing and some other things going on. Boston's best player is 2'4". There is no exciting dunks or anything. What's
the name?
Pulling up.
Fred Hoiberg has been complaining because they allow Isaiah Thomas to carry the ball on every move that he makes, and he's saying it's giving him a distinct advantage because he's so quick. But if they allow him to discontinuous dribble every time, he's impossible to guard.
And I just hate watching them play. And I get what y'all saying about the whole league is like that, but at the same time, the whole league has other elements. That's all. But Boston is literally a one-trick pony.
You're right. And 2016, this season, the regular season, Houston attempted 39.9 three-pointers a game. Cleveland, 3.9. Boston, 33.6. So those 3 teams we just named are the top 3 in attempts per game. Golden State is 5th at 31.2. 4th is Brooklyn. Why are y'all shooting threes?
Shout out to Brooklyn for resting players that don't matter.
Their shooters are.
Jacking up threes. Salute to Brooklyn, man.
They don't know who their shooters are, man. That's why.
The Wizards lead the Hawks, or should I say John Wall leads the Hawks. John Wall is that guy. He's definitely, doing his thing.
Another good series. A lot of people, including Charles Barkley, thought it was over after Wizards went up 2-0. Atlanta went home and did their thing. Wizards went back and did their thing. So, I mean, if it keeps pace like this, you might be looking at a Game 7 back in Washington.
John Wall, best pure point guard in the league.
Better than Kyrie?
Yes.
I'm just asking. That's always the comparison. That's always the comparison.
He's definitely not a better scorer or finisher, but best pure point guard.
Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs are leading the Grizzlies 3-2. Shaka Fizdale, who's the breakout star of that entire series. But Kawhi, man.
Shout out to Fizdale.
I'll grab it. Bill, shout out to Kawhi.
He gets in situations where he has to Like the 5 Heartbeats, John. Like every night I got to fight to prove my love. Like he proves his worth. Like whatever we say to doubt him, like he goes out and finds a new situation, in game to prove, I can do that too. So, props to Kawhi. I think the Grizzlies are giving the Spurs more trouble than anybody expected in this series, but that's kind of disrespectful to the Grizzlies, though, because I think the Grizzlies give anybody trouble in the series. Yeah. And it seems as if they've proven that over the last 5 years or so, but nobody ever wants to believe it.
Shout out to B. Austin homie Mike Conley, because Mike Conley has been balling, though. Mike Conley has definitely been balling. So shout out to him.
Yeah, I'm responsible for that.
But yo,
he's responsible.
The thing about, I've never seen a player, right, with Kawhi Leonard, who didn't come into the league and he was never this aggressive. Like, how do you build that aggressiveness? Like, he looks like a different guy. Like,
watching tape.
Watching tape. I got to say. Anyway, man. So that's what's going on in these NBA playoffs, man. By this week, next time we'll have some other series going on. And we'll see what happens from there on out. But it's time to talk a little bit about the draft. We got about 35 more minutes left in the show. We got Fred calling in to talk about the draft with us. Talk about
so let me real quick. I'm gonna just give some quick birthday shout outs, and we're gonna get Fred on the line. Quick birthday shout outs. And I know we got some other calls on the line too. We'll get to you during the NFL draft talk, because I'm pretty sure that's what people called in to talk about. If not, if you ain't calling to talk about the NFL draft, then, hang up now. Because you start talking about something else, we're going to bang on you anyway. So look, birthdays are brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. And yes, financing options are available. So just visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for discounted rates, be sure to tell them that War Room Sports sent you. Yo, that's crazy, though, because after I said that, a couple dudes hung up on the switchboard. They like, F you, Dad. That's why people hate
they like F this draft.
All right, so real quick, y'all man Jason Whitlock turns 50 today. So,
Cool Train is coming.
On his birthday.
Cool Train is coming.
Hopefully with age, he gets more wisdom and he stops tap dancing
what
with
about
people.
Black on
Cool Train is coming. Cool Train is coming.
What about Black on Black crime?
Y'all gonna play that on my man's birthday, though.
True.
Shout out to Iceman, George Gervin. He turned 65. Finger
One
roll,
thing
big
I
homie.
can do is finger roll.
Happy 85th birthday to former NFL head coach Chuck Knox. Not Chuck Noll, but Chuck Knox turns 85. We'd like to give a nice big War Room salute to all of these folks on their birthday. Salute!
Birthday, yay!
All right, and no doubt about it, y'all know the drill. We about to talk NFL draft. And look, if you want to call in and speak with us about the NFL draft, make sure you dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. It's open at numbers 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. And this NFL draft coverage is brought to you by Audible. I got it, Jim. Your schedule too hectic to read as much as you want. We'll try audiobooks, kick back, and let someone else do the reading for you. All you got to do is visit Audible and sign up for your free trial at audibletrial.com/War Room Sports. In no time, you can be listening to the latest bestsellers, hands-free, stress-free, while getting other things done at the very same time. And we heard from somebody today that they went to the link and had a little bit of trouble. So if you do go to the link and have some trouble, just let us know. Send us an email, shoot us a message on social media, and we'll see if we can get that fixed up for you. But right now on the line, we got War Room Sports college football expert. He's a crossover expert today because, this is college to the pros. And we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft, which commences directly after our broadcast. And he also has a top 10 mock for you guys. We're going to do that for the last 30 minutes of the broadcast. We got Fred Perdue. Fred, what's going on, good brother?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
What up, though?
Pretty good. It's as you called it on Quick Slants, man. It's Christmas. It's NFL Christmas going on, and all these teams about to.
Man, assalamu alaikum, Fred.
Sound
They're about to unwrap these gifts, man.
Talk these games of amusement.
No doubt. So, the draft, as we spoke about earlier, it's in, our hometown of Philadelphia. Jimmy's been up there partying and doing his thing for War Room Sports during the draft festivities. But you've been in the lab working. You got a top 10 mock for us. But before we get into that, what are your thoughts on this draft class as a whole? Like, what are we to expect out of this draft? Some drafts we say, okay, it's a great quarterback draft. And other drafts, it's a great linebacker draft. Like, what is the position? What is the position that, before the draft we can mention, but after the draft we're going to be talking about, like, that 2017 draft was huge on what?
Well, I call this the good, the bad, and then the ugly. Well, the good, the NFL has turned into a passing league. What do you do to combat that? You either get after the quarterback or hope to God you have really good secondary players. Well, this draft is full of secondary players, whether it's Sidney Jones, who had an Achilles injury, redshirt him for a year, and hope he comes back and is the same guy, whether it's a guy like Desmond King, who's more of a corner safety hybrid. He'll be able to move over. It's full of depth. If you're wanting the bad in this class is the quarterbacks and the offensive line, two key pieces of a football team. The depth at the quarterback position is very, very, very bad. There's one quarterback in this.
Yeah, I've heard there are no quarterbacks, just athletes.
Possibly. I literally don't like any quarterbacks in this class, including Brad Kaya from Miami. So if there's one quarterback I kind of like, and that's Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech. He grew on me throughout the season, but offensive line, that's where it gets.
Pause.
I'm gonna leave you alone because you already started today. But
it's interesting when you talk about the quarterback class and having one that the name that you mentioned wasn't Mitchell Trubisky, because there were reports earlier today that Cleveland was going to do a Plastic Man type reach and select him with the first overall pick. Now we've heard reports since then that they've come to their senses, or they've been talked off the ledge, or they may have been bluffing all along. But did you think there was any legitimacy to those reports early in the day? Like, could you believe that they were going to do that? I mean, it's Cleveland.
At this time of the year, you believe absolutely nothing. My man Deshaun Watson from Clemson said, it's a slap in the face if you draft Mitchell Trubisky ahead of him. Well, it would be a slap in the face to any franchise if you draft Mitchell Trubisky. He is.
Talk that talk, Deshaun.
I would, but then again, it's a slap in the face if either quarterback is drafted, because neither one is really a career starter. But I digress.
That is the thing, though, because Deshaun Watson has been very outspoken in the days leading up to the draft. But
for a quiet guy in college,
100% real, it's like you're not that great of a prospect yourself.
Yo,
but I feel defending yourself over a dude who at least has, he has no body of work on the college level. 13 games, has maybe one signature win.
Not even 13 great games at that, Dev. I mean,
right.
The first half of the season against Georgia, that was great. But halfway through the season, I was like, I don't really like you, Mitchell Trubisky. I want you to come back.
I was telling Jimmy that this morning. Like, I did. I watched a lot of college football this season because I was doing shows and stuff with you, and we did so many episodes. And I'm like, I really don't remember this dude's name coming up.
He couldn't beat out Marquise Williams years before now, and now, the last time I remember a guy having this many games of experience and being talked about as a first-rounder was Mark Sanchez. I thought Mark Sanchez would have been good if he would have stayed in school a little bit longer. You just need more time. NFL defenses will tear you apart. And in a wide-open spread offense like North Carolina runs, where they have a decent defense in the ACC, I'm not too sold on. I like Brad Kaya a lot more than I like Mitchell Trubisky. And Brad Kaya is a very flawed quarterback.
All right, well, since we only have about 20 minutes left in the show, let's get into this top 10 mock that you did. Now, for everybody out there, Fred's mock, each pick will actually feature 2 picks because he's going to tell you guys who he thinks those teams might end up drafting, and he's going to tell you who he would draft in this spot, given the GM position. So, of course, we start with Cleveland. We seem to say that a lot of years. Let's start with Cleveland. And it's a damn shame that it always has to be this way. It's like this franchise can never get out of its own way. And the reports that I was hearing this morning about Mitchell Trubisky, I was like, here they go down this same path again. But they're under different management. So, we want to give these guys a chance. But if they make that pick, then,
I'm not giving Cleveland a chance.
But I don't
ever.
think they're going to make that pick. So who you got Cleveland taking, and who would you take in this particular spot?
Can I preface this first? You could give Cleveland Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or whoever you want. They will never win.
Find a way, to mess it
That's
up.
a nice. But this is just part of the exercise. With the first pick in the NFL draft, we already know it. It's already been reported. Myles Garrett, defensive end, Texas A&M. I'm taking him too. He's far and away the best player at the position, as well as he's the best player on the board. He's not Jadeveon Clowney, but he's close. And before you go, B. Austin and Jimmy, I know where you're going with this one. Jadeveon Clowney, after the injuries, has been very good. He's been very good without J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt has been very good after microfracture surgery as well as a sports hernia. So he's not Jadeveon Clowney good as far as explosiveness is concerned, but his ability to bend the edge and beat these bigger tackles, he can get pretty low, kind of like a Von Miller. And for a guy his size, it's kind of unheard of to see a guy have that kind of flexibility. So for me, I like what he brings to the table with those traits. The only thing that's kind of concerning, and I didn't really think about it until a little bit later on in the process, he had 8 sacks. 4 of them came in one game. He disappeared in that area of the season of his statistical production. He disappeared. But when you look at it, teams were doubling him, tripling him, and we all know how number one prospects are. They tend to take plays off. Every big time player.
Which, as a GM, you might not want to hear, but he said himself, like, I know I have to play better against better competition. When I heard that, I was like, you probably could have kept that to yourself. Sounds like a confidence issue. But, from all accounts, he is the guy. But then you have a few former NFL players who played on the defensive line.
Shut your mouth.
Who's been throwing some shade. Warren Sapp says he seems like another lazy player.
Warren Sapp should shut his mouth. He's not on. He's not on any relevant TV shows anymore. And he went to the U. But
he was great.
I'm saying he's one of the greatest to ever play because
that's
you're
great
not on
and all,
a TV
but you're
show,
no longer
you
relevant.
can't give your opinion.
At the end of the day,
being
you're no
on
longer
TV is what you count versus
no. Warren Sapp was great on the field, but you're no longer relevant. I don't want to hear anything. Your hot take.
Whoa!
To make you more relevant again.
Because you're not on a TV show, you're not relevant. Who determines
Warren
relevant?
Sapp is no longer relevant. He's trying to make himself relevant again by saying something that is a hot take. Myles Garrett. Put it like this: every great defensive lineman takes plays off. Every great defensive lineman sometimes disappears. That doesn't determine if a guy is great or not.
I've never seen Reggie White. I've never seen Reggie White take a playoff, and I've seen every snap of his career. But that's neither here nor there. But the point is, I'm just talking about in terms of how you judge someone's relevance because they're not on the team. I mean, in that case, half of ESPN was relevant 2 days ago, and they're not relevant now.
Well, actually, think about taking plays off. Taking plays off is like in today's NFL, you really can't be that guy because they take the line so much. You take a play off, you can take it on the sideline rather than being in the game and not doing anything and hurting the team. But let's move on because we still, we this far in and we still only one pick in. The 2-14 San Francisco 49ers. Who you think they're going to take and who would you take in this spot?
Marshawn Lattimore, corner. Ohio State goes to the 49ers with their pick. Very long, rangy corner. They're going to more of a Seattle-style defense. Press, cover three, big corners. Get your hands on him. Not necessarily a great athlete all the time, but he was a pretty good athlete at Ohio State. Locked up a lot of good receivers. If I put my GM hat on and I kicked out John Lynch, who has no credentials to be a GM, but I don't have any either. But I like fat boys in the trenches. Give me Solomon Thomas, defensive end, Stanford, a hometown guy who can play inside as well as outside on the edge and stop the run or get after the quarterback on third down on the inside.
Okay. We're going to go like top five, and then we're going to take a couple quick calls.
Okay.
So the 3-13 Chicago Bears are up next at the number 3 position. Who are they taking, and who would you take?
Well, if the Chicago Bears were selecting, they would be taking Solomon Thomas, that same defensive end I took. I got him a little earlier. But if it was up to me, I'd be taking Jamal Adams, the best defensive back amongst all defensive backs, in my opinion, in this class. He's a big hitter over the middle. You can put him in the box. You can play him over top in a 3 deep. I really like his range. LSU has a good pedigree for defensive backs, whether it's corners or safeties, and they're only like maybe 4 or 5 really elite safeties. He's an elite safety.
Okay, and at number 4 we got the 3-13 Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, their pick at number 4, they would be taking Leonard Fournette. They need to help out a once, I guess, highly thought of Blake Bortles. I never was really a fan of him, but what helps a struggling quarterback? Good running game. Help him out. Mm-hmm. For me, I would go with the same pick. Same thing. Help out your quarterback. You don't have a lot of great talent behind him. Chris Ivory, not great. OJ Howard, it's too high for him, even though for a tight end. Denard Robinson's been a bust, obviously. TJ Yeldon, not really great. Help him out. Give him more weapons. This is the year for weapons for Bortles if this team is going to make strides as a team.
A bust at what, though? What the hell was Denard Robinson supposed to be?
He was supposed to be their offensive weapon. He was supposed to be their offensive weapon, and I actually thought he was going to develop into something. He really did not develop into much of anything, honestly.
All right, and Tennessee's on the clock at number 5. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tennessee, because this pick is actually from the Rams. So who you got Tennessee taking in this spot?
Tennessee is going to be taking with the 5th overall pick Malik Hooker, safety from the Ohio State Buckeyes. The closest thing I've seen at all to Ed Reed, ball skills, and I don't say this at all ever. I've never made this comparison, but I love this dude as a prospect. Everything he catches everything. He can play deep middle. He can actually go over the corner if he has to in a pinch. But for myself, if I put on that GM hat, this game. The NFL is about the offensive side of the ball, and Mariota needs weapons. You've given him 2 really good running backs. You've given him a really good offensive line. Give him somebody to throw to. Mike Williams, wide receiver, Clemson. big, tall receiver, rangy. By the way, made Deshaun Watson's life a lot easier. I think if Deshaun Watson didn't have him, his INT count would probably be in the 20s because Deshaun Watson overthrew guys a lot.
Wasn't Mike Williams expected to run a much faster 40 than he did?
He was, but when you look at a bigger, taller receiver, how many of these bigger, taller receivers run these outrageous 40s? I look at a guy like Alshon Jeffrey as a good comparison. Not a blazer down the field. What you want from him is deep down the middle, 15 to 18-yard dig routes down the field, high point in the football, red zone threat. That's what you want Mike Williams for. You don't want him beating somebody. If he's beating somebody off the jam and he's beating somebody 10 yards down the field, that DB is just terrible.
All right, so let's go to the phone lines real quick for a couple of quick calls. And everybody on the line, please talk about the NFL draft. And we got to make this quick. We got Rob out in Cali. Rob, what's going on, good brother? Quick thoughts about the NFL draft.
Yo, it's your boy Rob, a.k.a. the Bedroom Bully. Yo, man, I'm sitting here eating a cheesesteak at Philly place, you know what I'm saying? What's up,
your thoughts on the draft? What's up? We gotta go quick,
man. Thank you, Snow Bunny, for messing up our mock draft. You know what I'm saying? You know, yo, get out. That's all my young college kids. Just get out, man. But I'll go to HBCU. But anyways, I think it's gonna be interesting. I think the Eagles. I don't know what's gonna. I know Browns are gonna mess up like always. I just think that the Eagles should either get Corey Davis, Reuben Foster, or Hassan Reddick, or just Trey back. But please don't get Charles Harris. You know, Derek Barnett I'll take, but please don't get Charles Harris. That would be a very, very, very Jeremy McDougal move. That's all I'm gonna say.
Kill you. All right, Rob. Yo, thanks for your call. You know, next week we're going to press for time, so we can holler at you a little longer next week. But thanks for the call, man.
Peace, man.
Peace. All right. Of course, we got to go to the homie Tobias, who I had the pleasure of breaking bread with last week in Arizona.
Hey. First things first. I do not want to talk about my Chicago Bulls, but a couple of quick things. They should have a prop bet. Of all the black guys in the room, over under 5.5 will have white women on their arm. But anyway, hey, when Kevin White got drafted,
I knew that was coming.
Hey,
Get out.
Hey, you remember Kevin White got drafted? Man, teeth weren't straight, but he sure got a Becky. But anyway, here's the thing. First, you know, I watch a lot of Myles Garrett. He's gonna be a bust. Everybody keeps saying he's double teamed. Jadeveon Clowney was double teamed a lot. But get this, Jadeveon Clowney showed up against the good teams. Myles Garrett disappeared like one of those ninjas does when he throw the smoke pillar on the ground when the bad guys come when it gets the good teams. They just keep it all the way real. But I'll say this about my team, Tampa. Dalvin Cook's overrated. Everybody talking about Joe Mixon. Dalvin Cook's rap sheet's pretty long himself, kind of like those scrolls on Game of Thrones that roll it out. He hit a woman, but one on camera. He has fumbling issues. Yes, but this is what I would do. I would draft a defensive end like Derek Barnett, who I think will fall, and I would go get Joe Mixon in the second round because I believe Joe Mixon is more talented than Dalvin Cook.
Okay. I mean, if they were able to swing that scenario, I mean, sounds good.
My question to you,
but you know,
Tobias,
is one team to throw a wrench.
Oh, Lord, it's Fred.
My question to you, Tobias, is if you like Joe Mixon in the second round, why not go up in the first round and go get him? Why not?
Because we know how this liberal society, ESPNW, is going to make everybody's life a living hell. They look at the guy. You know how that is. I would take him in the first round, to be honest. But no one's going to take him in the first round, and that's why I say the second.
Yo, but you know what?
Everybody's scared.
Fred, I'm glad you said that because I hate that. That pisses me off when they say, "Well, he's not good for this," but yeah, he's good for the second round, but not the first. Like, yo, if the guy ends up being a great player, you're gonna go back. Like, you know how sometimes we look at teams now and we say, "Hey, if we have to redraft, going to be a top pick. If he can play, he can play. So this whole
I'll
thing,
take him.
I don't believe in that whole value thing. Like, I wouldn't take him here, but I'll take him here. If you like the guy, go grab him.
I think that's more so
salary. I think that's salary cap and contract related. So there's a different.
But can I say this before I run?
Yeah,
to me, I said before I run. There's nothing to do with him on talent. It's that so many folks are so afraid. Teams are afraid to make that move. I would draft them, but I'm talking about how these teams are so afraid of making these social media warriors mad. And I think that's what's hurting all these teams with that. But hey, you guys have a good one, man.
Teams were afraid to draft Randy Moss, too. I bet you can redraft right now.
Teams were afraid to draft Tyreek Hill last year. I bet a lot of teams will draft. If they could do it again, they draft him in the first round now.
Yeah. No, because I see what Jimmy's talking about. Like, if it's just a dude that you think is going to contribute, or we like him, okay, you can get him back where it may be more of a value pick. But if you think there's going to be a guy who has NFL star potential and you're not going up to get him for some reason outside of football or some nutty combine numbers that didn't show up the way they were supposed to show up, then you go get your guy. If he didn't run that 4.4 when he was on a 4.4, and you're saying, well, maybe we can get him in this round because his combine numbers are like that. Like I said, it only takes one team to throw a monkey wrench in your whole program. They go get him. You didn't get a chance to draft him. Then he becomes a superstar because, your over analytical GM brain told you he was going to drop to the such and such round because he ran 0.3 slower than he was supposed to run. So,
yo, Dev hate analytics, yo. Dev hate all analytics, yo.
No, I just hate the people who live and die by them. Like I said, everything has its place. You know what I'm saying? Contextually. But some people, it's like, that's all. Like, shout out to Gus Griffin, writer for WarRoomSports.com. He wrote a piece today about SAT scores and combine numbers and how in their prospective fields, like, people put way too much stock in them. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
and they miss out on stuff because they do.
Deb believes in analytics, not analytics, but analytics.
I definitely believe in sitting down and watching these dudes play. Like, I mean, that's how when we come to draft time, that's how cats like Mitchell Trubisky, that's how, half the country never heard of the dude, but then he rises up to where there's talk that he might be the number one pick because they're over here overanalyzing. They might be looking at his size and looking at what he did in the combine, but they're not looking at what he did at North Carolina.
I just want to put one thing out there. Before we move on, and that is I'm actually rooting for Cleveland, because I'm on like social media now, watching the different comments and drafts, and like, they get dogged everybody. Fred came on here and said he don't care what happens, they will never win. How do you make that like? Bull said he don't care what they do, they will just never win. Like, so
they're a dysfunctional franchise. When you're a dysfunctional franchise, there's about five or six of them.
They got new people though, man. Let's see if the new people.
Man, put it like this, Fred. I know you're a little bit younger than us, but the Golden State Warriors were a dysfunctional franchise my entire life to about
dysfunctional.
Hey,
so
even when Cleveland was good, they found a way to mess it up.
Exactly.
They're just different, man.
They didn't win a chip, but they were a good team for a while.
Oh,
like, Schottenheimer had them competing at a high level.
aforementioned
shout out to Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner on Tecmo Bowl. They weren't Bowen Marcus.
Bernie Kosar.
They were damn good.
Eric Metcalf, Kevin Mack, Webster Slaughter. Yeah,
the aforementioned Bill Belichick was their head coach, but
Webster Slaughter.
Oh well, they was terrible when Belichick was there.
Of course, but
that goes to your point. No matter what they got, they ain't gonna win.
It doesn't matter exactly.
We got to rapid fire these last 5 picks. So the 5 and 11 New York Jets, who they picking and who you picking for them?
Mitchell Trubisky goes number 6 to the Jets. They have nothing at quarterback. And for me personally, if you're gonna I'm not sold on them. I'm not sold on anybody in this quarterback class yet. And Patrick Mahomes, I'm not gonna put him there. O.J. Howard, tight end, Alabama. would be my pick for those New York Jets. At least give them what they have.
Not you picking, but you still believe that Mitchell Trubisky will be the first quarterback taken off the board. Then.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick him, but somebody will.
All right, the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, 5-11.
At number 7, the 5-11 Los Angeles Chargers. That's still weird to say, but they'll be taking Jonathan Allen, defensive end, Alabama. I'll be doing the same thing. Solidify that defensive line. They're going to a more Seattle-like defense of this copycat league. He'll be your Michael Bennett for years to come.
And the 6-10 Carolina Panthers at 8, coming off of a Super Bowl appearance to 6-10. Wow.
Overrated quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Overrated quarterback gets a very good weapon who, by the way, his pops played in the league. If you haven't guessed it, Christian McCaffrey is the pick that the Panthers would take. He's
Bronco.
the closest former Bronco, yes. Personally, I think Christian McCaffrey is the closest thing I've ever seen to Reggie Bush in the last 10 years since Reggie's been in the league. Christian's that good. Christian McCaffrey is that good. He'll last longer than Leonard Fournette. But I'm leaving.
He had to take his shot at Fournette.
I had to do that.
Yo, I'm convinced that Fournette smashed one of your honeys, yo, because you've been hating on him a while. At least you're consistent with your hate.
Or maybe Fournette smashed one of Jadeveon's honeys.
Oh.
Wow. So who you got?
If I put my GM hat on, I'm going to take Charles Harris from the new defensive line zoo, as they call it, Missouri. Defensive end. He's a speed rusher off the edge. They lose Tony Ely, replace him with another Mizzou defensive lineman. Fat boys win games. That's just the way it is. No. Cam Newton doesn't need any more weapons. Fat boys win games on both sides of the ball.
No doubt. Cincinnati at number 9, 6-9-1. Damn, Bungles.
This team, I just don't like this team. If there was a good quarterback in this class, I'd take him and replace Andy Dalton with him, but there's nobody in this class worth that. There's not a receiver worth it. I'll take Reuben Foster. I'm sorry, the Bengals will take Reuben Foster, linebacker, Alabama, despite the problems at the combine, despite the diluted sample, all of that. He's a football player, and he'll bump Vontaze Burfict down a peg. He's the best linebacker in this class, bar none. I think he's a cross between Dante Hightower meets C.J. Mosley. He can rush off the edge, but he can play deep down the field in coverage.
That's a hell of a comparison.
Yeah, I love Reuben Foster, and by the way, they're both Alabama linebackers who I'm comparing them to. So if he can keep his head straight, he's going to be a star in this league. If he doesn't, well, he might be a bust. I'm going to take him to Reuben Foster.
All right, and last but not least, and we got to make this one quick because we got to sign off. Buffalo, 7-9.
The Buffalo Bills will take Deshaun Watson. With that pick, Tyrod Taylor's days are numbered. Quite honestly, I don't like Deshaun Watson at all as a quarterback. So I'm going on the defensive side of the ball. Pass rushers win. If you don't have a quarterback, you better get after somebody else's quarterback. And in the division with Tom Brady, you need Hassan Reddick. Linebacker, Temple. He's a do-it-all linebacker. He's the second linebacker on my board.
All right, everybody. That is Fred's top 10 mock draft. We hope everybody enjoys the draft. We hope all of your teams get everything you want unless you root for the Giants, Washington professional football team, or the Dallas Cowboys. And in Jimmy's case, I guess, the Raiders, Chiefs, and that other team.
Yo,
Chargers.
I don't even care about the Chargers and Chiefs. I let them live. I hate everything about the Raiders, yo.
That other team, I'm not even sure if them.
Yo, anyway, man. Thank you, good folks, join us for another 2 hours of the best issue in sports, the War Room. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, Facebook, Twitter, those that called and got in. We appreciate those that didn't. We apologize. Special thanks to Fred Perdue for joining us to talk about the draft. Tune in next week live right here on demand on the WRS Podcast Network. A lot of great more sports talk coming your way. We'll discuss the NBA playoffs and so much more. So until then, enjoy your weekend in sports. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you right back here. Catch everything we do, all of our conversations, social media links, any podcasts, webcasts. You can buy my book. Anything can be found at warroomsports.com. everything, the book and everything else we do, warroomsports.com. That is the hub. So until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top.
6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like magic in the block push. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop scholars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC, royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, PJ, Got Back, B. Austin. I'm Jock. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.
Say hi to spring's most amazing style steal at Old Navy. One day only, today. Women's tanks are just $2. And don't forget to come in now to redeem your super cash. Hurry in. High fashion, Old Navy. Valid $4.29, limit 5 per customer. Select styles in stores only.